Morning, folks. So this morning we're going to listen to Alex Phillips and James Price, and they're going to be talking about, the asylum seekers camps. All right.
Hello there and good morning, and I do apologise for sounding like I do. I can't help it. I woke up this way. I wasn't born this way though, so hopefully it won't last very long. But if you can tolerate my croaky sounding voice, I will keep you company for the next 3 hours, bringing you all the latest from the newspapers with a host of fantastic guests. There is much to look forward to on the eve of Christmas Eve. And if you would like to give my little voice a bit of respite, I would much appreciate it today, more than ever, as you can no doubt tell. So do be brave and give me a call. 0344 499 1000 is the number. It's your normal network rate. You'll be doing a girl a huge favour, especially if I start to sort of wheeze and cough. 8722 is the number if you'd like to send me a text message. Write the word talk before you text. You can also send me a WhatsApp or leave me a voice note on WhatsApp. 0344 499 1000 is the number for that as well. It doubles up as both the number to call and the number on the WhatsApp. We can shorten it to WAP if you like. Why not? Okay, shall we kick off? Because I'm going to let all my guests do all the talking today for obvious reasons. And I'm pleased to say that I'm joined by one of my absolute favourites. Next, it is the glorious Baba-in-Chief, James Price, former government special advisor. Good morning, James.
Good morning, my friend. I love this Rod Stewart impression that you're doing ahead of Christmas. It's fantastic.
Is that what it is? Do you reckon if they were sort of like doing a remake of All for One, the three gravelly voices of Bryan Adams, Rod Stewart, and who was the other one on that?
Sting, I think. Yeah.
That's right. That they'd call me up as a backing vocalist.
There's a great story where Margaret Thatcher was on the radio one year, and one of her advisors afterwards said, "Oh, Margaret, have you got a slight cold or something? You sounded very sexy." And apparently she replied, "I don't need a cold to sound sexy, dear." It's probably apocryphal, but I love the story.
I'm not sure this sounds sexy. I mean, I don't think I would want to get anywhere near me right now. I sound like a walking car crash, and frankly, I am. So save me, will you? And talk to me about, let's talk about housing migrants in barracks, shall we? Because this sort of goes to Crowborough, where they are trying to prevent the 540 male asylum seekers being put into the barracks there in East Sussex. And they're not really having much luck. Understandably, no one does. Forget it, Epping Forest, forget it, Crowborough. We will do what we like and put these men where we like. But this is going to have a huge impact on the local community.
Yeah, absolutely right. And I think this is the problem that the government is now starting to see, that you can't house people in these areas, any areas now, and keep it quiet, not least because there's now a lot more attention and scrutiny from local communities about these hotels, or whether it be barracks or other sites as well. But also because now local communities are organising to stop them. They see the damaging effects and the potential damaging effects of housing large numbers of mostly men, mostly of fighting age, and mostly from third world cultures. We don't know anything about any of these people, and we see lots of stories increasingly in the news now, either of really horrendous incidents or even just low-level crimes committed by these people, the defense of which is, oh, well, they didn't know that it was wrong. And so people don't like this stuff happening. And when we have a kind of failure of state capacity to stop these people coming over, we're starting to see small signs of communities organising independently of the state, whether it's police or anything else, to try and do this. I think it's Crowborough where a man called Nick Jones, I believe, is organised, and now others have joined, something called Crowborough Patrol, which is a group of individuals wandering around, say, at the times when children go to school and come back from school, to try and make sure that the area stays safe. Now, I don't know specifically about Crowborough what the crime stats are like, or the likelihood of any of these things. The mere fact that people are both scared enough by these sorts of impositions of people from asylum seekers coming into their communities to start organising like this is very sad. But it also is the first worrying signs that people will start feeling that they might need to start taking the law into their own hands. Now, that's a very, very worrying thing. To be clear, I don't want that to happen. I don't think anybody should want that to happen. But when people start to feel that the state has not got their back and is housing these people, we don't know where they're from, we don't know anything about them, and we see stories that similar people to them are committing heinous crimes, it is unfortunately an understandable reaction that people may start organizing in this way, both to prevent the migrants coming in, or the asylum seekers, I should say, coming in, and once they're there, to try and keep their communities safe.
No, indeed, and I worry for the same, quite frankly, because, you know, the numbers keep going up and up and up. Crossings have topped 41,000 this year. No doubt we'll see the same next year and the year after and the year after, because for whatever reason, and this is what I don't understand, I am utterly convinced that the government can pull a lever if they wanted, declare a national emergency and stop this tomorrow. They could. They could have adopted the Conservatives' Rwanda plan, which was just beginning to materialise, rather than bin it. They knew they were not going to be able to smash the gangs. That was always going to be for the birds. They could follow in the footsteps of Poland, they could follow in the footsteps of Hungary, and just say, we're not open for asylum seekers. It isn't going to happen anymore. I'm sure there are plenty of things the government could do, because it should be in the power of the sovereign state to determine matters like this. So why is it that they're not doing it? I don't understand. They can see tensions rising. They can see the impact on the economy. They must be able to lick their fingers, put it in the air and see which direction the wind is blowing, and the real risk that there is going to be some sort of conflagration as public sentiment runs at an all-time low regarding this issue. So why is it they refuse to do something, James?
It's exactly the right question, Alex, and I'm sure that everybody listening and watching at home or at work are wondering exactly this. There's two parts to it that I think that be useful to kind of unpack here. The first is the fact that even if you think that all politicians are self-interested, corrupt little money grubbers and all the rest of it, which I don't think they are, by the way. They're certainly not money grubbers. There's no bloody money in politics in the UK. But even if you think they're totally self-interested, and where therefore all they would care about is being re-elected and staying in their jobs, they would act very differently to the way that they're acting. So either some of them genuinely think that it's good to flood the country with these people, and I don't even think that's the case in most instances, not most regular Labour MPs, some of the loony ones who've been brainwashed by NGOs perhaps. But I think it's more the fact that the incentives that are weighing on them from those loony NGOs and fake charities and all the rest of it, and those sorts of pressures, are forcing them to act against their own survival in Parliament, their own instincts to do that. And it's that kind of apparatus that is forcing them to behave this way. To take that apparatus, then the second point is why it's been so difficult for this government and for the Conservatives before to deal with this issue. Same thing. It is the structural makeup of the way, I would maybe call it the blob, other people would just call it the administrative state, the kind of permanent bureaucracy that is not just the civil service, it's the quangos, it's the regulators, it's all the external courts as well, the European Court on Human Rights, which has a powerful impact in the UK because Tony Blair ported it into domestic UK law. So it's not just enough to leave that court, we have to change all the laws that make reference to it, and now the case law and all the rest, blah, blah, blah. The point is there is this huge superstructure of unelected people who are weighing down on the Labour MPs themselves, not letting it work, and tying the hands of the elected government from doing this stuff. I'll finish with this. Dominic Cummings made this very clear. He brought in, when he was running the show in Downing Street under Boris Johnson, he brought in all the heads of special forces, heads of the army and the navy and all the rest of it. He said, right, what do we do about this? They said, well, it's pitifully easy. We've got, still a great big navy, and the English Channel has protected us from the Spanish Armada and from Napoleon and from Hitler and all the rest. It would be very simple for us to stop these small boats coming physically by force, and we could send special forces and work with French special forces to say to the gang leaders, who are in this to make a profit more than anything else, we will capture or kill you if you continue doing this. So the disincentives are there. Why do they not do it? Because of this superstructure of charities and NGOs and, crucially, lawyers, the human rights lawyers, and the law prevents them from being able to.
I was thinking about this earlier today. I was in some sort of like bath time reverie listening to my Bible app, and it was talking, it's the Old Testament, you always get the good stuff down the OT, don't you? And it was talking about the displacement of the Israelites and so on and so forth. And I was thinking about, great sins that have been committed against countries by their rulers. And I'm certain, I sat there and I thought to myself, I am certain in about 10, 20, 30 years' time, when we look back upon this era, when we reflect upon this decade, when our country has changed to become something totally unrecognizable, when we're divided, when we're riven with civil unrest, when our towns and cities no longer look like they used to, and when it becomes clearly apparent that a succession of governments have essentially willfully allowed our country to be invaded and destroyed. We all know that these are not genuine asylum seekers. There may be genuine asylum seekers among the hordes, but by and large, they are not. We know that when we've got data coming out on the makeup of people on those boats, when they're coming from Albania and the Punjab, even if they're coming from Syria, quite frankly. And a lot of these people go back home on holiday to these places they're purportedly fleeing persecution from. You know, it's clear to anybody with half a brain cell that these people are not genuine asylum seekers because, you know, we can repeat this ad nauseum. They've come through multiple safe countries. When we look back on this period of time and see what they have done to our Britain, our country, against our wishes in a way that's going to be incredibly hard to revoke, I think it will go down as a very, very poor chapter in history. And do you know what? All the people who could have done something, are they going to be held accountable? No. That's what's chilling.
What you've presented there is, in the spirit of Christmas cheer, the kind of ghost of Christmas future if we're not careful. But I'm a bit more confident that come the next election, whether it's a Conservative majority, a Reform majority, a coalition of the two, or something like that, that they will get in and they will have radical and useful and effective policies to halt all of this. You know, the United States has suffered the same thing under the Biden administration, where that southern border was totally open and they had extraordinary numbers. You're talking 20 million people in 4 years flooding over that border, and the Trump administration stopped it like that. Yeah. It was very, very simple to do, right? We've been able to build walls for quite a while, it turns out. And they've had millions of people self-deport, as in, you know, they leave the country before they get caught and are forcibly removed, alongside the forcible deportations and all the rest of it. And we are able to learn, I think, from the American example, what works, what doesn't work, messaging that works, all the rest of it. So I'm a lot more confident that we can fix some of this. But you are right that if we don't, then the effects on the country are going to be so damaging that they will be felt for a very long time. We're already seeing statistics that for every asylum seeker that comes over, they are a massive net drain on the exchequer. For every person that comes over, it kind of cuts out a median lifetime's taxes spent. So if you're someone listening right now, your whole life being spent paying taxes, maybe half of what you make, paying tax on every purchase through VAT, every bit of insurance that you pay for, doing the right thing to be insured, every flight you ever take, every pint of beer that you chug over Christmas, all the taxes that you pay over your whole life will be totally negated by one of these people. So I hope that doesn't disappoint people too much. No, but the last thing I'll say on this is that you think about something like the First World War. No one really wanted to go into that. Everybody wanted to avoid it, and yet it happened anyway through that kind of inexorable slide. And I think that's a useful frame of analysis to think about the kind of migrant crisis we've got ourselves into now, which is why we've got to break that sort of superstructure of charities and lawyers and all the rest of it if we're going to stop the boats and make any progress on getting Britain back on the right course.